Hello, everyone. We're back in the studio again doing annealing wax. I want to show you something when wax is melting. Let's see if I can get a piece up. See how it has this gelatinous stage? If you ever actually try to melt broken cylinder wax, original, it has that same gelatinous stage. So it kind of sticks to the spoon. So we're melting this, and it has some really nice properties. This is a process called annealing. So we made the initial batch of wax. Okay, so if you look at all the different videos that go with this, we have a silent hydrated aluminum video, which I need to. I guess I could go back and put in subtitles or make it like a silent film, and put in little windows that tells you what each process I'm doing is, because we didn't have audio. But we do have audio today, thank goodness. And what we're doing is we're called annealing the wax. So I want to show you some properties of that are some really good things about this particular batch. You notice this is a fairly thick batch of compound, and we only have a little bit of dendrites right here. But that's okay because that's why we anneal it, is to get rid of that. So if you see cylinders that have these little inclusions in them, that's not acceptable. It should not have that. That means that the wax was not properly annealed, or it's not the right molding temperature. So I'd go through great lengths. I've done research to find out how to get rid of that out of cylinder records. That's why we do this three melting process. Somewhere online, there's an old 1900 interview. I believe it was Scientific American interview or, or tour of the Edison record plant of 1900. And it's a kind of a, they talk about the process and they describe it such as the wax is made in a separate building and its process is secret, but we can tell you that the wax is important, that it has three meltings. So the first melting, of course, is when you're actually making the wax. So that's the first melting, is the actual making of the compound. In fact, I think I actually use four. So I have the initial process of making the wax, the soap. I make the soap first. So So, making the soap is when you make the aluminum sodium stearate compound. The aluminum soap, as it's known. This is called metallic soap. That's what we're making here. And you can see it as it's melting. Very similar to actually melting regular brown wax, because that's what this is. This is pretty much uh, what I hope to be a superior version of Edison brown wax. I'm using beeswax as a temper. In my initial thought, I thought, well, I might have a little too much beeswax, but I'm thinking that I have just the right amount. It looks like when I actually go to make records, we won't know until we try it. But this initial, see how that gelatinous stage is on that spoon? See that gelatinous? You can kind of, let me poke at it here. See how it's kind of sticky like that? That gelatinous stage on cylinder wax is very important. That means it's properly saponified. So we're melting the wax out. I just wanted to kind of show you what a block of wax is. And it doesn't have very much inclusions for being as thick it is. See, that's, what is it, like 2 inches thick there? Yeah, it's about 2.5 inches thick block compound. And it doesn't have very many inclusions in it. It's pretty amorphous throughout, really. Uh, I don't accept dendrites. That's this in a record. If I see this, then the record gets remelted, or I'll use it for experimental recording on my own. But I won't sell it like that, at least anymore. A long time ago, I did, because I had no choice, because I didn't know how to get rid of it. And as far as I know, most of the makers at the time didn't know how to get rid of it either. And I've gone past that point where I can get rid of these dendrites. And most of it is by your molding temperature and by this three process of melting the compound. So I'm very carefully going to put this block in here very slowly. See, we had to set it down in there. Otherwise, you don't want that wax to splash on you. I will say this is one of the best smelling batches of wax. It really has a nice smell. It's certainly wonderful smelling batch of wax. So we're just carefully monitoring it melting. Again, take a look at that gelatinous stage here. So you get all the action. We're actually going to bring this down so you can really watch what goes on in this pot. See, there's an example of that gelatinous that makes sure that your metallic soap is correct. And every time you meld it, it has a little more of that gelatinous stage to it. And it's very important that it has that. It's very important in the making of cylinder records. This smells heavenly. It's a very, very hard material. Uh, this is aluminum sodium stearate and beeswax. Beeswax content is 15%. So I'm going to take a little screwdriver here and we'll see how it cuts with the screwdriver. Well, this one here is let's see if we get any type of cutting action at all. Oh, look at that. See, that is perfect. See that? We know that it will record good. And I'm using very little pressure. And if I push now, if I touch these, they should like turn to powder. And they do. So that's a good sign. Each time. And this should last the whole molding session. I've got a process that actually makes a mold a cylinder with only heating the mold for half an hour. I found that works fine with my process. That a half an hour of heating your mold up works just fine. So I can actually process it like two blanks in a setting, which is nice. If I could try actually to do 2 or 3 days, I could make like like six blanks, which is a half a dozen. That's a nice. That's nice. That's balancing out more, and hopefully I can start making more cylinders again. I kind of had a sabbatical for a little bit. I wasn't really making very many, and it is hard for me to do because I work at a regular job. I work in a firearms manufacturing facility, and I also do other freelance work that I can't really talk about. That's kind of top secret stuff. That's all I could say. And I have another job where I do consulting work and matter national security. I can't talk about that other than saying that. I think I really got a wasp confused because he's smelling beeswax. I don't know if they smell or not, but he's probably like, what the heck? Why am I smelling beeswax? The hive must. Most animals and bugs and stuff, if you leave them alone, they won't bother you. It's when you swat and act like a nut that they will hurt you. But this is beeswax tempered, And who knows? We're all learning this together. Uh, 15% seems to be a good amount. As you saw when I was doing that little test with the screwdriver, it was making a perfect curly shaving, and when I touched it, it turned into powder, and that's what you want. You want the beeswax to turn into, or the beeswax. You want the cylinder wax to turn into powder when you touch it. If you are recording on original brown wax, you'll notice that it comes off in a nice curly shaving, but when you touch the powder, the shaving or the swarf from it, and it just crumbles into little powder, and that's one of the things you got to look for when you make cylinder wax. I'll show you. See that gelatinous stage I was talking about? We're going back over here again. We're going to see how that gelatinous stage I talk about there. Very important that your cylinder wax does that. And checking our temperature again, because this is starting to melt. I'm going to go into liquid part. 84.4. It's climbing up. 85. That's degrees centigrade, by the way. Remember, water boils at 100 degrees centigrade. We're at 88. 80, yeah, 88 degrees centigrade, so it's going up. I have another portion here. We'll add this very, very, very slowly. And I don't know how to do that. I have to almost melt it in. See how I got away? And it didn't actually do anything bad. Thank goodness. That is sometimes the most scary thing, but it didn't rooster tail or anything. So that's all, pretty much all our wax that we had out. I had it out because I wanted to look at the structure. Again, here's our little sample. And what was the date yesterday? I'm gonna put this in the sample bin. 8/23 of 21. So we go 8/23 2021. And notice how nice that engraved. See? Hopefully this wax is quiet. I go with a 0.47%. See how the sample is real shiny? It's got a real nice sheen to it. It's got a real glossy look to it. That's good. And that's without any polishing or anything. I will say this compound smells really good. I notice we have nobody really watching yet. We've been on for 17 minutes now. I document this so that the phonograph community can see what's going on here. They can see research being done and results. We don't know how this will sound until we actually mold a record and process it. And also, this shows how much work is involved in making cylinder records. That it's not just a very That is not just a frivolous thing. Sounds like the one train is here. You call it the Amtrak. That's the sound of the Amtrak train. It's actually like about a mile and a half away. The Amtrak is up at the north end of town. I'm on South Main Street here. So yeah, I live on Main Street above a store. This was the W.H. Masters photo studio during the time of Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln came and had his picture taken in this apartment on July 4th, 1856, when it was W.H. Masters photo studio. Wait, is it a honeybee? Is it? I don't want to. We can clean that up. I wonder if honeybees could smell beeswax. Like, oh, I smell some wax. Let's see what we're at for temperature now. Before we were at like 87 degrees centigrade. So we come over here and look at our thermometer. See, now it's going up. Nope, that's not what that is. No, that's not what I thought it is. It was just a wasp. So let's see where we're at. Ooh, look at. We got lightning outside. Yeah, we're getting up there. We want it at 200 degrees as our goal. When it gets to 200 degrees, we're going to set a timer for 20 minutes and then let it So we're at 163 right now. There's still wax in there that's undone. Now let's see where we're at again. Okay, the wax is completely melted. Well, no, there's a little tiny bit left in there. We're 175, 176. Good, I didn't break it. See where we're at. Oh, okay. less than 5 degrees to go up. One more degree. Or anywhere around 199 is good too. Yep, we're good. Okay. Time to start the timer. 20-minute timer. We'll temper it. Temper it? No, is that the word? Anneal it for 20 minutes at this temperature. So it says it's about 203, 204 degrees. That's fine with me. After 20 minutes, we'll just shut it off. Just to make sure, I'm going to bring it down just to 2. Time for another temperature check. We're at 214. Turn down the temperature a little bit. This is the best size of batch for this particular container. So it's staying around 212. We got some two up to 217 some places. Turned it way down. Maintain it. About that temperature, it's good. We don't even, when we mold it, we mold about 180 degrees centigrade. You gotta turn it down a little more even. when this is shut off and goes solid, then the next thing I will do is actually make a cylinder. Sorry, I've been silent for a while. Excellent work. Thank you, Irez. Irez. Excellent work regarding cylinder cylinder records. Okay, thank you. It's kind of fun to figure out what different languages what they mean, and I could figure out. I know work and engraving and cylinder. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I was. This is requires a lot of concentration when you're doing this because you don't want to catch anything on fire. That's the main thing about this work is to. You're welcome. I'm sorry I wasn't looking at the computer. I just this work is pretty interesting. I'm glad I'm documenting it on here so you can see how it goes. This is an experiment because I've never made this exact formula before using beeswax as a substitute for saracen. And for what I see, it might be, hopefully, it'll be a nice, quiet, articulate formula. It has 0.47% aluminum, which is a good amount of aluminum in this material. So we got 5 minutes left of this process, and then I will shut it off after 5 minutes. I know, like watching it, there's not much to watch, but it is interesting that there's really no other place that anybody's. Well, there's two other people, but I don't even know. I never heard from one of the people for a while. So this is pretty fun, in my opinion, because I like to do research and see what comes up. Supposedly, this can go all the way down to minus 100. No, minus 50 degrees centigrade. That's pretty darn cold. To 1,300 degrees centigrade. That's pretty hot. And seeing how dark it's getting, because the wax will get darker as we cook it. It is always a challenge keeping a thermometer in this wax. Turn it down to like 173 degrees centigrade right now. is about the temperature where we will be molding the wax at. It has a really nice smell, really pleasant. Sometimes I turn off the thermometer and then turn it back on. We got 1 minute left and it'll be done. Then I'll be ready the next time I melt it to make records. I've been making wax for a long time, so a lot of my observations is looking at the wax itself, looking at the vapor coming off of it. I can tell different temperature stages by looking at that as well. So we have a 25 seconds before we shut this wax off, and it's considered finished. Finally, you notice there's no bubbles in the wax at all. It's placid or quiescent, or however you want to say it. Okay. The timer says that is it for our wax. So here is the power cord for the container, and it is off. I've made a lot of wax in this container, lots of it. I've had it since I think it was either 1999 or 2000 that I got that. Might even been before that.